What are you teaching your kids? What are we passing down to that next generation? And if you're not willing to fix your health for you, please fix it for them. Because this is just going to continue to get passed from generation to generation to generation. All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Jacque Show. Today, I'm going to be talking about a topic that has been one that I've experienced a lot, not just in my life, but with my patients' lives. And when we're posting certain things on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, all the platforms that we're on, there's this constant theme that just keeps popping up. And it's becoming more and more apparent that we are being lied to now more than ever. And so the purpose of this particular podcast is, how does it feel to be lied to? And I want you to sit with that question. And this question goes out for all of you who have been told that their lab values are normal, that there's nothing wrong with them when you know that you are, and you know that there is, that your diet has nothing to do with your current state of health, that your autoimmune disease is incurable. They don't know where it came from. There's no hope for you. All that you can do is take a medication or sit there and try to pray about it. And this gets very frustrating because I see a whole array of people that come into my practice and they report with some of the craziest things that I've heard of. And they all get better. It's very rare that anytime we set out to get results, that the results don't come. And usually the only reason that that's happening is because either they're not following through on their end, or there's some sort of environmental thing that we just didn't account for when we initially did an intake, whether it's mold or heavy metals, or again, a toxic relationship that we never really discussed. And so this podcast, I want you to be aware that if you're sitting there and you've been told this your entire life, I want you to really rewind the hands of time. And think about when this happened. Think about the first time that doctor removed power from you. Or maybe it was your family removed power from you. We hear all the time, oh, this is just a family thing. It just gets passed down. Your mom had it, grandma had it, great-grandmother had it, now you're going to have it. That doesn't have to be the case. But what that's doing is every time you hear those things, every time you're believing those things, you're taking energy and power from yourself and you're giving it to somebody else. And then you become that identity. And then you manifest it on that time zone or that time frame. You're like, okay. And when I hit 40, everyone that hit 40, or we'll just go women-wise, everyone that goes 45, they get a full hysterectomy. It's just what our family does. So I better prepare for that. And there's people who will tell their spouses, like, listen, I just want you to know, hey, I'm probably going to end up getting a hysterectomy when I'm 45. Like, why? They're like, well, everyone in my family has, so I'm going to have to do that too. That's what the doctors has always told us. They did a really interesting study that they found the power of suggestion, where your body, if you get that diagnosis, one of the worst diagnoses people believe that they can get is cancer. And again, I'm not being insensitive to cancer, but it's one of the worst, right? Because we have all of this stigma around that diagnosis, when we should be living as if we have cancer every single day of our life. We should be eating healthy. We should be eating clean. We should be reducing stress. But that's not the point of this one, right? We get that diagnosis, and if that doctor comes in there and says, hey, this has a really high success rate, you should be fine. This will be nothing in 5-10 years. You'll be able to grow up. You'll be able to have kids, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, okay, let's go into treatment so we can get you better. Okay? Or if they go in and they say, listen, Donna, you've got 3 months to live. You better get your affairs in order. And unfortunately, this is going to kill you. This is going to be your death. We're going to do some treatment until that time comes. Okay? And the patient's like, oh, shit. I knew it. All those previous expectations get flooded to the forefront. And like, oh my God, I knew it. I knew this was going to happen to me. Oh, poor me. This is my fault. Right? Your body, this is what research and literature will show you, your body will actually rewire itself to die in specifically 3 months or 4 months or 5 months, whatever the doctor told you. If you believe that thought process, hook, line, and sinker, and you put energy and you put emotion behind that, you're going to die. Like I've been studying a lot is Dr. Joe Dispenza. And he talks about, it's one thing to say something, but when you have the emotion behind it and you feel yourself in it, that's what causes that manifestation. So if you manifest the suck because you believe it to be true and you're just giving up and you feel it and you feel that hate and you feel that anger and you feel the pain of leaving your family behind or leaving your kids behind or your patients or whatever it is, you're stuck in that emotion, and that emotion will live within you until you die. Versus if you rewind that and say, well, no, that's not true. It's not my story. That's what you might think, but I have divinity within me. That's just your man-made brain trying to tell me what you believe to be true. But you don't understand the divinity. You don't understand the divine. And so you could put yourself into a place where like, listen, I'm going to. And Dispenza's had people with cancer completely reverse it just through meditation and conscious thought. Prove it, not just like, hey, I think it's gone. Like, no, they've done scans and it's gone. Right? He healed his back through this meditation that he does. And I'm not plugging him. I don't work for him, with him. I'm obsessed with what he has to say because it's the woo-woo mixed with the science. That's what I'm all about. But that's also the point of this. If we've been lied to our whole lives, at some point, we have to wake up. And if at no other time, I don't think we've been lied to so much as we have been in the last couple of years. This has been the narrative that has been there since the beginning of time, since the beginning of modern medicine. If you look at how modern medicine came about, Rockefeller found out that you can put in petroleum into synthetic pharmaceuticals, and he took out the traditional medicines, which were like the herbs and things that we use, and he put them into synthetic garbage so he can make more money. And he called it modern medicine. No, bitch. You hijacked what was already working and you made it poison. That's what you did. But with medications, you got to be careful. There's no side effects with the herbals. There's some that can happen, but again, very minimum compared to what's happening with these medications. And so we have to look back and say, listen, this is not working for me anymore, right? Like this relationship isn't working for me anymore. And you have to break up with that way of thinking. It's very difficult to do. Because depending on how old you are, we're indoctrinated in this for as many years as we've been alive. Could be 5 years old, could be 10, 15, 20, 50, 60, 80, 100 years old. And you're stuck in that same way of thinking. But it's your choice. What story you want to create, not just for now, but the future. And now the funny thing about the past is we can't change it. We can't go back. We can't make it better. We can't put sunshines and rainbows on abuse. But what we can do is stop giving the past power. And we can give our future power. Create those stories that you want for yourself. And at the beginning, it's going to be hard, right? Because we are chemically addicted to our thoughts. We are chemically addicted to our states. We identify as our disease. I have to take my medication because I have diabetes. I can't do that because I have tachycardia, or I have AFib, or I have this, and I have that. And all of these claims, these are our identity. So then we vibrate at a certain low frequency, and that calls in more people around that frequency. You will never see a whole bunch of just depressed people, depressed disease people, hanging out with high-level functioning entrepreneurs. Why? Because that high-level entrepreneur, maybe they know what that felt like, but they can't relate. Because they know at the drop of a hat, you can change your state and rewrite your story. And so you don't want to sink down to that low vibrational state And same thing is, if you change your vibrational state and you're in a low frequency, you're going to lose people. And you're going to have to be comfortable with that. And when you make that change, there will be people who will start to throw stones at you. You can't do that. There's no way you can do that. And then that rewires your brain to believe that doubt, because that doubt agrees with your previous train of thinking or your previous thought. I can't do this. My dad told me I could never do this. No, Dad, I'm not saying that you said that. You said I could basically do anything. Just don't work for anybody, which I don't. Ta-da! There are things that we can rewind back. That was a lie. I can't believe I believe that. Right? You wouldn't keep going back to a car dealership. That's just every time you take your car there, your car comes back broken. Right? Like, oh, there's nothing wrong. And you drive your car back and your tire falls off. What the heck? Maybe the first time you're like, all right, I'll give him a second chance. Somehow he missed that. Maybe it was a bad mechanic. You bring it back again, and your other tire falls off. You're like, dude, what's going on here? Then you bring it back again, and your oil pan just falls out, and then your fender falls off, and then your roof falls off, and you have a convertible SUV, and you're like, how did this happen? Right? And you're like, oh, everything was good. Everything was fine. But one little thing over time that gets ignored turns into a monstrous thing. And that's where medication, that's where surgery comes into play. So if you feel like you have been lied to, when are you going to change? When are you going to accept the fact that you've been lied to? Does it hurt knowing that? Yeah. But does that empower you? It should. Because when we believe other people's lies, we give a piece of ourself away. It disempowers us. It removes power. So when you start collecting that power again, like, hey, bro, you lied here. No, this information, that diagnosis, that's not true. I'm going to go find another place that's going to take care of this. Where it gets a little tricky is the natural side of things. It's not supported. It's not supported by insurance. Why do you think that is? We get you out of the system. We fix you, release you back into the wild. We were just up in Kodiak, Alaska. It's like the fish hatchery. They were just spawning fish. Now, unfortunately, they were getting devoured by Kodiak bears, but they're bringing life into this world. And eventually they release them out into the wild, right? They nurture them from little itty bitty babies and they put them out into the ocean up there and then they come back eventually. But that's basically what we do in the functional realms. Like, listen, you came to us with a problem. I wish I could get you when you were a kid, teach you all these things when you were a kid so I can indoctrinate you for true health. But that's also why I work with a lot of parents is my hope is that this trickles down into your kids. So when you're like, hey, doc, I need to cook 5 different meals. No, you don't. No, you don't. Your kids should eat like you eat. And you're like, oh, they don't. Well, does your kid have a car? No. Then stop putting the shit in the house. They won't have an area to go. If you're like, oh, my kid always eats Pop-Tarts. Stop buying the damn Pop-Tarts. They love them. Who cares? They can't get them. It's impossible for them to get them. They will hate you for a minute and they will get over it. And your life will be so much better. But my hope is that these positive habits, these positive changes will trickle down and have an impact on your children. So yeah, it might be expensive to some people right up front, but this isn't just the time that you're spending with us. This is a time, this is spread over a lifetime and over generations. We're talking about breaking generational curses, breaking generational chains that keep getting passed down. So we stop the damn narrative of, hey, my mom had breast cancer. And you're like, but I didn't have breast cancer. Oh, what happened? How is that possible? We fixed it. We got you to heal. We taught you true health principles. Now, going back to making the change, we talked about the chemical addictions. Your brain is comfortable feeling safe. I use this phrase, too good to be great. You're comfortable, which means you're good. I'm good. I don't need to change. I'm good. I'm happy. Nothing crazy has happened today. Oh, I'm a little bit tired. But, it's just one of those days. I'm good. And then you start to change. And then your body's like, well, hey, Jacque, the hell do you think you're doing? This isn't my morning routine. I usually sleep until 10 a.m. Why are you waking up at 6? Dude, you're reading books? We don't do that. Come on. Don't read that. Oh, you're gonna learn about Reiki? Oh, that goes against the Catholic faith. You were raised Catholic. Why would you do that? And so your body starts sabotaging to get you away from that particular goal. Wants to knock you back. We talk about the others around us. Yeah, they can throw stones, but when you're locked in a room by yourself, what are you telling yourself? Are you building yourself back up? Or are you your own worst enemy? This is crucial because the hormones that are produced when you're stressed, they're highly intoxicating. Feels good. You feel alive, right? People do stupid shit. They jump out of airplanes for adrenaline rushes, right? They're addicted to that. People get addicted to the trauma and the stress in their lives. If they have an abusive relationship, they're going to get rid of that one. Like, oh, that guy was abusive. And what are you going to bring back in? Another abusive relationship. Every time. Until you change. Until you change internally. Change the story that you're telling yourself. And if your story just continues to be, listen, I am whatever anybody else says I am, good luck. Good luck with your health. It's going to fail you. It's not going to be an enjoyable life, and you're going to feel like you're out of control. You're going to be 50, 60 years old, hitting retirement and being like, I hated my life. I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have done that. I wish I would have a little bit more health. Now I have grandkids and I can't even play with them. My mind's gone. I've got dementia. I've got Alzheimer's. You know, we talk about the stuff that our parents pass on to us. What are the diseases that we're now adding into our family lineage? What if our family has never had a history of type 2 diabetes and you're just chugging Diet Coke, Skittles, M&Ms, Halloween candy? What's Halloween candy? It's just candy. You're eating candy all the damn time. And you develop type 2 diabetes. Guess what? Your child mimics that behavior. Your child sees what you eat and what you do when you're stressed. It mimics those patterns. Every time mom was stressed, what did she eat? Every time dad was stressed, what did he do? Did dad lash out and get angry and abusive? Oh, that just must be what dads do when they're mad. So when I'm older, I'm going to do the same thing because I want to be just like my dad. I'm young. I'm impressionable. Or is it, when dad gets upset, he lets out a grunt and he goes and does some shit. He goes outside, he works in the yard, he goes to the gym, and then he problem solves how he can fix the problem to make things better. What would be better to pass down to your kid? What about mom? Is she pounding down 15 pints of ice cream? Right? Or is she doing stuff? She's like, hey, I'm stressed out, but I'm going to meditate. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to go for a walk today. I'm going to do something for me. I'm going to go pamper myself. I'm going to go get a massage. I'm going to go get my nails done. What are you teaching your kids? What are we passing down to that next generation? And if you're not willing to fix your health for you, please fix it for them. Because this is just going to continue to get passed from generation to generation to generation. And the last 3 years has done nothing but rip power away from those who already had no power. And that's this great divide that you're seeing. People are waking up and the divide keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Because you have people who are too afraid to admit that they've been lied to. Then you have the people who are like, screw that, I've been lied to. I'm so mad right now. I'm never going back and doing that. I'm never trusting that again. I'm never trusting the media again. I'm never trusting this party again. And it's boom, 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 boom. As my coach Anthony Truck says, you hit your death pit, right? The place, that rock bottom where you're like, I don't want to go back there. That sucked. That was horrible. Why would I want that? Right? And so when we do these things, this isn't just for us. And again, going into like, it's expensive. I get it. I am sensitive to the fact that we're hitting a recession that Joe Biden doesn't believe is actually happening. When he also doesn't know how to put on a coat or stand or walk or ride a bicycle. This is something that is going to span a lifetime, your family's lifetime. It's going to be passed for generations. And if you have to be the one to make that happen and be the one to pay the price, in a way, it's not a sacrificial martyrdom, but it's a sacrifice of the old ways, and you have to go through that discomfort. You know, and I'm all for kids experiencing discomfort. I think that's one of the ways that it builds influence, that pain-pleasure principle. That pain is such a strong and motivating factor that if we can let our kids suffer through some of the suck, it can help build a stronger why. But at the end of it, they already are grasping on the tools that they have learned from you, right? That they've learned from you when you went through adversity. They won't have to go through the suck as long, right? What if they go off to college and they're pounding down booze? They're like, Mom and Dad never drank, but I'm going to go pound booze now. And they come back into your house and you have booze in your house and they're pounding booze in school. Then they come home and they're pounding booze and they go back to school, they're pounding booze and they come home and they're pounding booze. And 4 years, you're like, oh, I got an alcoholic on my hands. What do I do? Well, you shouldn't have had alcohol in the house. You should also have proper communication, but also teach your kid, right? Why are you drinking? Are you doing it to be social? Are you doing it to have fun? Yes, there's some memories that I have when I was drunk in college. I still remember one of my best friends, Mark, I won't say his last name. Mark, if you're listening, you know who you are. And we became best friends in the night. we got drunk and ran through the streets of Penn State and drop kicked the sign in sync at the same exact time. Drop kicked the sign, just got up and we're like, that was awesome, and ran. Like, stupid, but like, listen, you make memories that way. But how fast can you bounce back and get away from those things? Like, I didn't like who I was back then. And fortunately, I was able to come to my parents and I would call them on Sundays and I would cry a lot of the times because I was like, listen, I feel like I'm out of control. I'm a rage fest individual. I've been angry my entire life. I had no idea why I was angry. I used to punch holes in all of the walls of my house, which makes me very efficient at patching any holes that I have in my current home, if anything happens. But I was displacing a lot of anger from things that were going on inside. I had a lot of issues with my gut that I was unaware of, right? I was just being treated for acid reflux, but I didn't know that I had H. pylori. I didn't know that I had chronic stress from all the sports and lack of sleep and horrible reactions to dairy, right? I just did what I knew how to do. But if my parents knew what I know that they would have put those in play. My mom did the best that she could with trying to make sure that we were healthy. We never had pop and Doritos and all that crap in the house. We didn't have those. And we had other treats and stuff. We had Halloween candy, and I get it. Like, listen, I went through it. But I can take what I learned from my parents and bring that into how I raise my kids and then add my own personal flair on it because I've done all this research on health. So health starts with you. Health starts in your family. Build health in your family. And heaven forbid something does happen, your first stop, unless the arm is falling off and you're gushing blood out of your head, your first response should not be, let's go to a medical doctor. Your first response should be, hey, let's call Dr. So-and-so, who's my functional practitioner that we've been working with for years. He'll know what to do. He'll know how to make sure that we solve this problem and make sure that it doesn't come back. And in the process, our kid doesn't get weaker or it doesn't get sicker. That's what this is about. So please regain your power. Please regain your hope and stop the narrative of being lied to. You're allowing this to happen to yourself. And every time you get lied to was another opportunity for you to regain power. But instead, you gave it away. At the end of the day, how much power do you have left? I want to be a superhero at the end of the day. I want to have all the energy in the world. I want to have all the answers in the world. And what I don't know, I'm going to research it to make sure that I do have the answers. And that's what we're here for. So hopefully this was more of like an inspiring podcast. Hopefully this brings some life back into you. If you've been diagnosed with cancer, an autoimmune disease, a rash that won't go away, acne, or you have a horrible menstrual cycle and you're just put on birth control and you don't know what's going on, and they're just blaming it on your age, your race, your culture, your genetics, your family history, etc. Like, if that's what they've told you and it's not on your diet and they didn't tell you to tweak your diet, then for goodness sakes, admit that you've been lied to and do not go back to that abusive relationship because they're abusing the power that they have over you and they're making a lot of money doing it. That being said, thanks for tuning into the Jacque Show. Until next time.